Lesson 8. Leaders, it's time to fix your swing out.
Since the swing out is the basic step of Lindy Hop, you'll find that if you correct a lot of the techniques in your swing out, it will apply to almost all of the moves that you're doing. We're going to start with the rock step that happens on counts 1 and 2 and show you some common mistakes we see made and how to fix them. So our rock step should be done in place if we're following the solo movement of a rock step. So it should look like rock step. And just go back and forward under us and stay in the same place that we started. Some common things that we see, the first one is a rock reach. A rock reach. And if we're connected and we do that, it causes the leader to pull the follow. And then it kind of messes up the timing and the connection of the rest of the swing out.
On the rock step, we also see that leaders will cross their right foot over their left foot, and it causes them to go around their follow. So this is what we see. Rock, cross.
Into the triple
step. I want to make sure that we do a very linear rock step. If we do the rock cross, it will cause our swing out to look like this. Rock, cross, and we go around each other, and it creates a lot of distance here.
Yep, and similar to the rock reach, it causes the leader to move in on 1 and 2 instead of utilizing that great stretch and then the release of the stretch, which is a lot easier to fuel the swing out. Another mistake that we see leaders do is that they are not picking up their feet. So even though they're trying to engage the shoulder and they're moving the arms, they kind of push into the floor and push off their toe, but they haven't fully rolled through their foot. So they haven't quite captured the solo movement of the rock step. And it causes them to pull a little bit early. And then the swing out does become more of a pulled in swing out. For now, we really want to focus on being true to that solo movement. So we pick up our feet on that rock step, and it almost feels like you're rolling through the heel and the toe before you go into the triple step. So we have a rock, roll through, and triple step. Also remember, for a good rock step, we want to have a good pulse. So in a rock step, we have a little bit of a pulse on both the back and the front of the rock step. And we describe it as like a skate ramp or a half pipe, or you can call it a smiley face. So in addition to having this good rock step in place, we want to have a good pulse. Another part of the rock step is the arms. So the arms are going to move in opposition of the feet. So as Mark steps back with his left, his right arm comes forward and his left arm is back. So we have this great opposition happening in our upper body, and that's a really great lead for the follow to feel like, yes, we're going to stretch now. Part of this counter body arms is stretching from our shoulders. So if Mark's stretching out, then he's engaging his shoulder muscle on the right arm, and that feels very clear to me because the rest of him is nice and loose. I can really feel the stretch through his arm into my arm.
Right.
So we want to see both this opposition of the arms and engaging the shoulder.
So another common mistake that we see with stretch on the rock step, especially when leaders and followers get too far apart, is that they will let their shoulder out like that. Instead of keeping it back, you want to have a nice, good posture when you're dancing and stretch from your shoulder and not let your shoulder out.
Another symptom of that problem is just leaders lifting this arm up on the rock step, kind of like a giddy up for your partner to get out there, woo! We don't necessarily want to see that because it's not engaging the right muscle for a proper stretch. So if we put these two things together and we have a good pulse and good opposition in the arms, 1, 2, then after the 2 on count and, when we're swinging our arms, these arms, the free arms, are going to come forward, and this arm, as it's trying to swing back, and combined with our pulse up, will put us into the triple step nice and easy. So a rock step and triple step. So we completed the first triple step, and now we're ready to move on to the second half of the swing out. So we're going to cover some common mistakes we see on this part of the swing out. And this is often where we see some issues happening with the leaders, is right here after that first triple step. So if we go back to the solo movement lesson, the arms swing on the and beats, and they're going to move again after count number 4. So if we did the triple step, 3 and 4, and is when the arms swing next. So that's really when the leader should be focusing on letting go of the follow. So Mark goes from hand on my back to swinging this arm back away from himself. And that's going to happen right after count number 4. So if we do that triple step, for the follows it's a right, leaders it's a left. Triple step, and is where Mark's going to release his hand and let it swing.
Probably the most common mistake that we see on the swing out is that leaders are pulling their follows past them on that rock step on 5 because they think that they have to give the follow the momentum to get all the way out.
We don't need all that extra push and pull on this. We should really just be true to the solo movement and make it nice and easy. So when we do that additional pull, there's a lot of things that happen that can really mess us up. So as Mark pulls me across, first of all, we get a lot of extra rotation there. And if the song is really fast, that extra rotation matters a lot. It makes it a lot harder to get around. Second, it's really uncomfortable for the follow. When I have a leader pull me across there, and it's so unnecessary to do that, it ends up being very uncomfortable for me and disrupts my ability to dance as an individual dancer as we're going through the steps. Lastly, if you pull the follow across, she ends up getting away from you really quickly, and then we're all the way stretched out and we haven't even gotten to our 1-2 to do the next swing out, a rock step on the next swing out. We don't have enough room to make a proper stretch, and so then leaders end up bypassing the stretch altogether and coming up with a basic step that relies totally on pulling the follow through the entire swing out. You can see Mark also does a really great rock step. So this is his right foot now, and he's doing a right foot rock step on counts 5 and 6. A lot of times we see leaders do a lot of different variations on that. We see leaders open up on count number 5, or we see leaders cross behind their other foot. And similar to the 1-2, when we did a 1-2 or a 1-2, that really affects what the follow feels, and it makes the swing out a lot harder and not as efficient. So you can see Mark has really great placement. So after that first triple, we release, he brings his arm back, and he has this really nice rock step position. It's almost as if we were going into the Lindy promenade. So ideally, we complete our triple step, 3 and 4, and then Mark has a nice rock step using the pulse and the arm swing to make it just easy, and off we go. And you can see on 7 and 8, the very last triple step, our free arm is forward because that's how the solo movement ends up being there for 7 and 8 on the triple step. And that also means that the follow stays closer to the leader on 7 and 8. Leaders, it's your job to initiate stretch. The follow shouldn't just be backing up on her own. So as long as you're true to the solo movement here and keep this hand forward, she should stay relatively close to you, so you have plenty of room, and 1, 2, to get into the next rock step for another swing out. So if we just completed 5, 6, we have our last triple step to go. And so if our arms are kind of backwards here, you can picture a giddy up, triple step, and then like a push out into the rock step. It's really unnecessary. So we'll tell our students, if you focus on the free hand being forward, which is where it should be on that triple step, that should take care of the problem. So we're going to demonstrate the mistake. Again, this is not how we want you to do it. So we would go 5, 6, 7, and 8, 1, 2. So instead, we want to see the opposite. These arms forward, our free arms forward, and our connected arm loose. So we would have a 5, 6, 7, and 8, 1, 2. The last thing we want to cover is about elbows. It's really interesting in a ballroom dance. You'll see a lot of our elbows out or almost up. They're very lifted. Because Lindy Hop we consider more of like a street dance, the elbows are down. So you notice in the solo movement, like if we did the front to back, the arms swing at our side, and that causes the elbows to stay on the bottom. So some common mistakes we see from leaders, they'll do a rock step very straight and the elbows stay down, but then when they go in for this triple step, they're lifting up the elbow to create more of like a ballroom type closed position. And so over here on this side, if the elbow's up, then I feel like a lift and it feels very different. For this style of dance, it feels very different. And then also, a lot of times the leaders leave this arm down and this arm up. So we definitely want to match, and we want to keep both elbows down. So it feels, once you get it, it feels really relaxed and really simple. Mark just puts the elbow on the bottom, and I'm able to just plop my arm on top versus needing all of this extra frame or lift in our body. Remember, this stance stays low and bent, and so the elbows stay down and they can swing at our sides.
Leaders, when we take our step back on 5 and we do our rock step in place on 6, we're going to make sure that we put our foot down first and then we turn to get out of the follows way. So it's going to look like this: 5, 6, my foot comes down, I start turning, I have to get around by the time I start the triple step, triple step. From this angle, it's going to be 5, 6, triple step.